Hello, everyone. In this week's episode, we continue the search for Cherry. I wanted to apologize for last week's build. It wasn't finished. I didn't have all the items needed, so I decided to rebuild the build again and finished the build. I also want to talk about what inspired me to make the build that I am going to build in this video. Let's start the villager hunt. Hopefully we can find Cherry. There are some neighbors that are on this villager hunt that if I wasn't looking for Cherry, I would invite them to the island. I didn't have enough items for the build that I was going to build, so I decided to rebuild the build from last week. Like I said last week, I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I love the older series better than the newer ones because the older series has more time to tell the story. The shortest story in the classic Doctor Who series was The Edge of Destruction, who starred William Hartnell in 1964 with only 2 parts. The parts of Doctor Who are usually 30 minutes apiece, so that would be an hour total. While the longest was the Daleks' Master Plan, which was 12 episodes, starring William Hartnell. Doctor Who is my comfort show. My dream story is that the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, and his companion, Amy Pond, Karen Gillan, are in the TARDIS, and the TARDIS is going back to 1947's Los Angeles. The Doctor is trying to get the TARDIS to go to where they're supposed to go. Amy Pond tells the Doctor maybe the TARDIS wants us to do something here. The Doctor and Amy walk out of the TARDIS. The Doctor is dressed in a fedora and a nice suit that you would see in a film noir, while Amy is dressed in a typical 1940s style of dress. The Doctor and Amy are walking around downtown LA, and they're walking on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They finally find somebody else walking, and they ask them, what is the date? And the person says it's January 15th, 1947. After the person continued to keep walking, Amy said to the Doctor, maybe something happened this day? And the Doctor says, yeah, the Dahlia case started today. Then they realize that they're stuck in 1947's LA until they solve the case of the Black Dahlia. They continue to walk to where the Dahlia case happened, and then they start to look for clues to who it could have been, who was behind the case. To me, that would be an interesting episode, or they could turn it into a novel, which personally, that would be a really good read if they actually did write a novel about the Dahlia case in Doctor Who. This build that I'm building is a reference to a 1976 story of Doctor Who called The Masks of Mandragora. The plot is the Doctor and his companion land in 15th century Italy, where they encounter the Mandragora Helix. The TARDIS is locked in a dungeon. That is why that in the build that I put the TARDIS behind the fence, which would represent the dungeon. The Mandragora Helix followed them in the TARDIS. The entity seeks to materialize on Earth by manipulating a local high control group to establish power and a base to invade Earth and to affect the Renaissance period, trying to cancel the Renaissance period. The Doctor foils them and preventing them from taking form. My personal favorite Doctors are Tom Baker, Jon Pertwee, and Sylvester McCoy. My favorite modern Doctors are Matt Smith, David Tennant, and Jodie Whittaker. And my favorite companions are Amy Pond, Karen Gillan, Romana, Lalla Ward, and Joe Grant, Katie Manning. I really like unsolved mysteries and film noir genre of movies. So a mixture of the two of those and Doctor Who would be a dream come true for me. Another favorite of mine is Cyberpunk. It's a gritty sci-fi depicting a future defined by high technology. I really love anime in that genre also. I'm also a fan of the horror style of anime too. Speaking of anime, the reason why some of the older Doctor Who episodes in the 60s were animated was because the BBC deleted the tapes that they were on to save space. Some say that they were lost in a fire, and some say that the BBC deleted them. What the BBC did was searched for audio because some people recorded the audio from the episodes back in the 60s when they aired, and some people donated the audio to the BBC, and some let them borrow it so they could archive it so they can get the audio for the episodes, and they can make the Doctor Who episodes from the audio and also animation. The Cave is a reference to the 1984 series The Caves of Androzani, which was the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, who is the father-in-law of the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. I have seen most of the episodes from William Hartnell, the first Doctor, to Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor. I really liked Jodie Whittaker as Doctor, but I also liked the chemistry that Matt Smith and Karen Gillan had. They worked great together. I love everything Doctor Who, not just the TV series. I like podcasts with Doctor Who. I like novels with Doctor Who. I have 12 novels of Doctor Who so far. I got for Christmas, one of the newest novels I got was The City of Death by James Goss. And I also have the Glamour Chronicles trilogy, which is Royal Blood, The Big Bang Generation, and Deep Time. I also have a Christmas novel with Doctor Who also. And that one follows the 11th Doctor and his companion Amy Pond and her husband Rory. A lot of the Doctor Who novels are very well written, and the stories are very, very great, and you don't want to put the book down. I also have a novel where the Weeping Angels try to take over the world because of sadness that people have. Tom Baker and the second actress to play his companion, Lalla Ward, they had so much great chemistry together. Part of why they had so much good chemistry was because they were actually married in real life while they were working on Doctor Who together. Tom Baker is the longest running actor to play the Doctor. He played the Doctor from 1974 to 1981, which, if my adding is correct, that was 7 years as the Doctor. He has been one of my favorites as the Doctor. He did a really great job at it. He wrote a Doctor Who novel also. The novel was released in 2019 and it's called The Scratch Man. Thanks for joining me this week. Unfortunately, we didn't find Cherry. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos, likes my videos, and subscribes to my channel. I will see you next week. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.